What's up YouTube, Natepushweights back here with another video. Today we're going to be talking about if you are first trying to buy a PC for the first time, there's actually some key components that you need to know in order to buy the right stuff, in order to pick the right parts for your PC. This is what you need to know. Ready? Let's go.
I'm supposed to read this shit. That for full life.
So there's a couple key things that you need to know. Now, when you first get a PC, whether you buy it on Amazon, a pre-built PC, or you're buying parts, there are things you need to know, important factors in picking the best stuff. Now, you need to know that a CPU is basically the brain of the whole PC. If you think about it, a CPU is the most important factor to have. Now, that being said, a CPU is probably the most important thing component-wise that you need to run the PC, right? So if you were to buy a CPU and that were to be the most smartest thing in your build, right? Wouldn't you want to spend the most money on that CPU in order to have the best outcome in your PC? Correct. You answered it right. So in order to have a great PC, your CPU must be the most dominant thing. Now, the GPU would be the second on the list. The GPU is basically running all the graphics. It's basically running most of the renders, the easy renders, and the graphical renders, if you think about it. Now, whenever you watch a movie on your computer, or even a YouTube video like this, for instance, you're rendering graphics, slow graphics, not complex graphics as you see with like video games and stuff, PC gaming. Now think as a GPU as something that you want in order to keep up with the race. Think as if your GPU is like a race car. You want your race car to be good, but it doesn't have to be great. It can be good, but it doesn't have to be great, for instance. As long as it's as good enough to keep up with your CPU, then you're not bottlenecking. Then you're not running into, oh, this race car is really fast, but this race car is really fast, but the engine in it is a little too fast for it, for instance. So the GPU is important also, but obviously, like I said before, the CPU is always going to be the most important. So CPU, then GPU. Next on the list is memory. Memory meaning RAM. If you have enough RAM in your game, in order to run games for that required memory, say for instance, so memory can go up to, RAM as in memory can go up to 8 gigabytes, 12 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes. Heck, if you even wanted to go even further, depending on your motherboard, 256 gigabytes, maybe even more, depending on the motherboard. Now, motherboards range from time to time, man. They can be very expensive. Expensive motherboards pretty much are going to be the greatest motherboard for your build, depending on your CPU, remember. Now, before we get into motherboards, because that'll be the last part that I really want to most talk about, the RAM is very key, because depending on if you're like a gamer or even a person that uses editing software or Photoshop or Premiere Pro, whatever it is, any high stress on your PC, you're going to want the most memory for your PC. Meaning, if your PC is running just a couple of Google Chrome tabs, you're going to be okay. You're not going to need that much memory. 8 gigabytes is fine. But let's say you're playing like Call of Duty and you have two monitors, ready? Let's say you're playing Call of Duty on one monitor and you're playing Fortnite on the other, right? If you actually try to do both of them at the same time, you're going to be using a lot of memory, for instance. So you're going to need more than, let's say, 16 gigabytes, or even you're probably going to need more than 32 gigabytes if you're doing all that. So if you wanted to do certain things like that, not to mention have other tabs up like iTunes or Spotify, or even have like a VPN going up too as well, memory is going to be key for you. It's going to keep your computer from slowing down, for instance, and you're going to be able to be very efficient, on point, constantly. So think about that as memory. Now, the last on the list, I'm not ranking this as least important. It can be least important, But depending on how you want your PC to be, if you want your PC to be high-end, top tier, obviously you're gonna want to rank this as, you know, number 2 or number 3, you know, ranking it as important. Now, the motherboard, okay? The motherboard is very important. For me, I have a Z390 Gigabyte Aurorus Master. That is probably my favorite motherboard on the market right now, of course, because I use an i9-9900K for my CPU. Now, remember, I said CPU has to be number 1. CPU is the most important thing. If you're searching for a computer on the internet, whether it's pre-built or you're getting it as a part, CPU is always going to be number 1. Remember that. CPU number 1. That's number 1 priority. If you think about buying an expensive part for your build, CPU. So CPU, okay? Now the motherboard that I use, like I said, i9-9900K. For that CPU, that great CPU, for that motherboard, they're both basically in a relationship, you think about it. They both do certain tasks that help each other out. Not to mention, you know, that powerful CPU, the i9-9900K, I'm able to overclock past 5 point whatever gigahertz. And that motherboard, the Z390, actually has certain cooling that's going to help that CPU push even further if it wanted to. And basically it's an overclockable motherboard for the overclockable CPU, if you think about it. It's very handy, very handy. Depending on which version you could get like a water block version too as well on your motherboard, and it could even go further if you think about it. But yeah, that's the motherboard situation. You can always cheap out on a motherboard, but remember, if you cheap out on a motherboard, your CPU is not gonna live up to its full potential. Pretty much. But that's pretty much it. I wanted to tell you guys, you know, what the importance of buying gaming PCs and the parts in general. You gotta look at the 4 important parts: CPU, GPU, RAM, which is the memory, and also the motherboard. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. More PC gaming content and all that good stuff on the way. Technology, yeah, we love it, right? Hope your quarantine is going well. And yeah, follow me on Instagram. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.
I'm supposed to read this shit. That for life.